First day of November 2022. Appreciate you being here with us. With Councilmember Ekstrom join us. I would like to excuse 3 council members. 2 will be with us on Zoom tonight. They're being a little cautionary with some health issues, and we have 1 who's out of town. So we've got Councilmember Barker and Councilmember Ekstrom here. And which is fine, because this is not a meeting where we'll be making any decisions. This is simply a meeting to get residents together and to hear from them. So welcome this evening. We will have time for public comments, but we'll start our meeting tonight with asking Councilmember Barker give us a thought, an invocation, and then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Start with an invocation. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful that we can meet this evening as a city council and North Ogden citizens. We're grateful that we can all come out and speak about the items on the agenda about the Parks and Recreation Department and how we can improve our city. Please bless that we'll keep a level of civility and that we'll be having good discussion tonight. Bless us that we can do the best for the city. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Barker. Before we start our meeting this evening, any conflicts of interest or concerns you'd like to disclose? John, I think we have Councilmember Dowpaz and Councilmember Swanson with us.
Yes, they are online.
They're online. So any concerns you'd like to disclose at this time? All right, we'll enter into our agenda this evening. And before we get started, let me just say I appreciate those that are here with us this evening. I appreciate those who took the time to email myself and other council members to give their input. I would just like to maybe say one thing. I think there may have been a little bit of misunderstanding that the council had a proposal to reduce services or reduce their involvement in the Senior Citizen Center. That is not the case. This meeting simply tonight is to get input. As you know, we'll be entering into the budgeting process here fairly soon. And we just would like to have input on what we can do to improve things in the city. I know in some of our recreation programs, Becca will give us a report tonight, but in some cases our concern is capacity. The programs are growing so rapidly. How do we continue to deal with the fast growth and have capacity to do those things? So we will have public comments. You're welcome to come forward if you would like. And if you have comments, if you would state your name, and if you're a resident of North Ogden, and I would ask you to keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes. And once again, this is just to get input. So any input you may have, now would be the time to do that. So we'll go on with public comments at this point in time. John, anyone on Zoom, if you would watch for them, if they'd like to make comments and let us know. So anyone who would like to comment now, please come up to the podium. Once again, state your name, and if you're a resident of North Ogden, please limit your comments to 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Debbie Burke. I'm new to the area. I'm a healthcare director from Salt Lake City. And I'd just like to say that I feel it's extremely important to support the senior center. Where I come from, the senior centers are bigger, they have more programs. So when I came here, I was a little bit surprised. But the seniors definitely need somewhere to go. I came up here, I was very isolated. All my friends and family are in Salt Lake. And the senior center here, I was very depressed. They saved me. It gave me somewhere to go, and the people there are just opening and amazing. And it's something that I feel, you know, as you get older, a lot of people want to push you aside and forget about you. And I hope that this community is not like that, and that they want to promote and give the seniors somewhere to go and the resources to have a quality of life, because it's a vicious circle. If you cut off their outlet, they're going to get depressed, they're going to be more unhealthy. And if you promote good programs, food, and services, you're going to have a healthier, older community, which in turn only benefits all of us. And I've worked in the healthcare for a long time. I've seen the benefits of promoting good programs and supporting the elderly life so that they can have a good quality of life in their older years. So like I say, I hope that this community is one that wants to invest in their senior people, because in the long run, it's just going to benefit everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to point out I may be the most qualified senior citizen on the council. So I can relate.
I would just like to echo that comment. So, I can see it.
Can you state your name?
My name is David Erickson, and I live in Pleasant View. I sit as a vice chair on the board at the senior center. Actually, I was on the board once before when the senior center was right here. And I was the one that made the motion at the Pleasant View City Council to give $5,000 a year back then to the senior center, because as a Pleasant View resident, and I assume the North View means North Ogden and Pleasant View in the name of it. Although most of the people that come to the senior center are North Ogden residents, I have North Ogden roots. My family is the Randalls and the Chadwicks. But there is I think there's money well spent. Anything that you put into the seniors benefits you in preventive health and maintenance of the seniors. Things like fall prevention, for example. They found that things like dancing, tap dancing, line dancing, and yoga and Tai Chi and that promote balance, which prevents you from having falls and saves a lot of money in the long run. So the things that they do over there, whether it's taxes or meals or health classes or legal help, things like that, all of it provides a safety net for the seniors, and it's money that the city doesn't have to pay. A lot of that comes from private volunteers and donations and that. But can I just suggest that you tap the communities around that don't have senior centers that are sending people here for money. I think Pleasant View would probably donate more money if they were just asked to share a percentage. So if, let's say 12% of the people that come here are from Pleasant View, have them contribute 12% of the operating funds, to the center, and I think they'd be willing to contribute that if you asked in a really nice way.
We already did ask in a really nice way, and they have agreed to pay 20% of the operating costs
Very nice.
there. But that will eliminate their $5,000 contribution to the 501c3. So this will now go to the operations of the senior center. They've agreed to do that. I've talked with Mayor Tate at Harrisville, so your point is well taken.
Perfect. Anyway, that's just what I wanted to say. I think it's a good investment, and you're all going to be seniors someday. So you want it as nice as possible by the time you get there.
And just for informational purposes, we will have presentations by our parks department. Zella, I think, is going to talk to us, and then we have I think Jessen's going to talk to us about the aquatic center, and so we will have some information and input from them too. And then We'll allow you to ask additional questions and comments after their presentations here, so.
Julie Anderson, North Ogden. So tonight I'm wearing two hats. But both are important in this community. I will start with, I am the chair of the Weber Communities That Care. And we deal with prevention of drugs abuse, alcohol, and suicide prevention. And we have just added mental health to our roster of many things. And I have watched our youth. We have a youth council and they are amazing kids. But we have a lot of kids in this community that struggle. To give you an idea, Weber CTC covers what's called the Weber Cone, which is every school that feeds into Weber High. And so that includes elementaries and junior highs. So we are a very unique community that care due to the fact that we have a mountain that separates us from half of our community over there in Huntsville. But the power that cities can give our kids, excuse me, when it comes to giving them opportunities to be successful, whether it's in a sports program, a drama program, whatever it is that they, youth councils, youth courts, whatever it is. I think that needs to be taken into consideration. And one of the things, as I sat and thought about this, is we need youth in this conversation. We need youth in every conversation that is related to something that relates to them. We need to get their feelings on the parks. I can tell you that one of the things that they have vocalized to us as a CTC, because we talk to these kids, one of the things they're concerned about is that there isn't enough for older teenagers. You've got the playgrounds and stuff like that. And of course, the first thing they bring up is pickleball. I guess I've never played it, never seen the courts. So I've heard lots of people say it's great, but our youth enjoy it. And so I think as you look into programs, I think you need to make sure that we are taking care of the youth, but at the same time, parents have a responsibility. My children grew up rodeoing. The city didn't pay for any of that. That was my responsibility. And it was expensive, but I knew it was important to my kids. But if there's a sport that we as a city can help these kids with, and parks that we can provide for them, that gives them the opportunity to be outside, to be communicating with their friends on something other than a cell phone, and also keeping them away from the drugs. And I will tell you for right now, you could ask any kid in the school district, if they would decide they wanted to do drugs, where would I go? They can tell you exactly where they can get it. So we need to provide the opportunities for these kids to grow and to be healthy. And to give them all the opportunities that they can to stay away from substance abuse, to be great citizens of this city as they get older. So as I take my hat off from the Weber CTC, which is all about youth, I am now going to take you to the other end of the spectrum, which, by the way, I am a part of and very proud of. I am on the board for the Senior Center. And I just want to say we need to take, as much as we need to take care of our younger crowd, we need to take care of our seniors. Okay? They have given us the opportunity to be where we are today. And that Senior Center, I can tell you, is a lifeline for many people. In talking to Zeller, I hear it all the time. It's a moment that they have where they're not alone, where they can have fun, where they can enjoy themselves, where they can be a part of the community. And guess what? We can bring our youth into that Senior Center and make it a cooperative between Weber CTC and the Senior Center. Hey, if they need help, we're there. That's our responsibility as the Weber CTC, as communities that care. Our responsibility is not only to take care of the youth, but also to take care of our seniors. Because guess what? Do you want to know the age group that has the worst drug problem in the state of Utah? 55 to 70. That's where most drug abuse is done. Not with our kids, but with our seniors. Surprising, yes. You'd be amazed at some of, I see meetings and do a lot that you're doing now, Charlotte, going, what? Wait, no. You're like, what? But that is exactly, the numbers are showing that. It's all data driven. I can show you all the data you need. So I'm gonna leave it at that to say, I understand the city needs to be responsible financially. As far as, not responsible financially, but to be, now the word's gone from my head. But you have responsibility to be able to take care of the needs of this city. You know, our water, our fire, our police, all of those things. And we as parents need to realize that we have a responsibility to help the city with that. What ideas can we come up with? And I would definitely include some of your youth in this conversation as to what they see would be great for our parks, and involve your seniors as to what they need. Involve those that need it, because we all do. And even the ones in between, you guys, you need it too. So thank you.
Just a reminder, we will have additional public comments too, if you, after the presentations that are made by department heads. So you'll have time, just wanted to point that out. But we do have the floor open to public comments at this time. For anyone else? John, anyone online?
No, I think they're probably waiting for this presentation.
Okay, good. Okay. Here comes Christina. I think she's making a presentation too. She's just getting warmed up.
Citizen first.
Oh,
I'm Christina Watson from North Ogden, and I just wanted to speak as a parent and as a citizen right now, and just say that I really appreciate all that has been provided from the city in the Parks and Recreation Department. I have 5 kids, and they've all been involved in multiple different activities throughout the city, and it has, as has been said, helped their mental state, my mental state, their physical activity, and well-being, and there's so many endless benefits from education in being active and being involved in a team, from being a part of something greater than you and having to practice and be diligent at something. And I don't feel like making cuts to that would be the sacrifice that is necessary. In fact, the recreation department, as far as I understand correctly, they bring in more money than they spend. So if you're worried about that they don't bring in enough money, I would rather you bump every registration up by $5 than start eliminating programs, because I know that people will pay it and will come. And I wish I spread the word about this meeting, and I wish more of my friends in the neighborhood were here, because I feel like it's very important to advocate for what's important to you. But I will tell you that if you want to know what parents are interested in, and if they have opinions or support in a program, then you look at the registration numbers. The registration numbers for sports and recreation are through the roof right now, and so that should prove a point right there. I also just looked up a couple of numbers. In the 2021 census, our city has 21,528 in the population. Almost 2,000 of those, which is 9%, are under 5 years old. Almost 7,000, which is 30.7%, are under 18. So if you take the 7,000 that are under 18 plus 1 to 2 parents or adults, I should say, 1 to 2 adults per kid who care about them and what they're involved in, whether that's the parks that they take them to or the programs they sign them up for, then you have around 11,000. That's it, even if you consider that only 65% have 2 adults who take them to parks. Maybe there's a lot of single parent families, but 11,000 people care about parks and about sports. And that's more than half of our population. And so not everyone who is in our population can come up and speak in front of a pulpit here and explain to you what's important to them. But I would just say that I wish that they could vote, because if they were here voting their opinion, that they would say have more parks and recreation. Thank you.
and Christina, I think those are good points. And those of you who are here online, that's actually part of our problem, capacity that the council has to address is how are we going to deal with the capacity of the growth and the interest. I don't think we've ever thought there was a lack of interest in the programs. We just got to figure out how to make these viable ongoing, because, you know, frankly, we don't have a gym, we don't have adequate fields in some cases. So I hope as you're thinking about this, you can give us suggestions on what you as citizens would consider. You know, the way things are going with the city, we may have capacity problems one day at the senior center. You know, so we've got to plan ahead. In fact, sometimes Zella would tell you we have capacity problems now on Thursdays. So, you know, you can think about that on, you know, how we can keep the capacity and how we can look to the future in regards to parks and things we'd appreciate input. I think that's one thing we're seeking tonight is how do we deal with the growth and how do we keep things viable and how do we serve the citizens of North Ogden? That's our number one primary responsibility as a council, is to take care of the North Ogden citizens. We surely want to be inclusive, but we also have to look at things and figure it out. So, John, anyone online yet? Anyone else before we go to presentations, and then we will have time again for public comments. Just state your name here and.
All right, Kelly Anderson, I'm North Ogden. I've never been to one of these meetings before.
Well, thanks for coming.
And I'm very horrible with words, so hopefully I'll be able to portray how I'm feeling. But when I was emailed about the recreation department, I wasn't, or, you know, sports and stuff in recreation, I wasn't exactly sure what was going on with it, because like I said, I've never paid attention, but I have grown up with recreation. A lot of my first jobs were in recreation, not here in Utah, but in California. And I find that recreation sports for kids are really important because one, it teaches them responsibility, especially if they're going into it. They have to show up on time to their activities. And one thing I've been hard about here in Utah since I've been here is everything is so competitive. And yes, it is in recreation. Don't get me wrong. I understand it's hard to get coaches. It's hard to get refs because of competitions. But the problem is we also have competitive SWAT. We have competitive, all these huge things that are really, really expensive that a lot of families can't afford. And like me, I'm in this battle of, do we go to rec? Do we do competitive? What do we do for our children? Like recreation is fun. It's meant to be fun. It's not competitive. And when you throw kids in who are not confident, not wanting to do competitive stuff, that's what recreation is for. It teaches them new sports, new things that they're not, and it teaches them to be a part of a team in some things. And I'm not knowing what what this was about tonight. I just wanted to voice my opinion that I am for recreation, and I would love to see it. I love to see it expand, to see how it can get bigger here. Because I think it is super important for our young people to have something to do, because bored kids find trouble. They find things to do, whether it's, so if we can get our kids or youth into these activities, into these sports, it teaches them things that it's just not about sports. It's about responsibilities. It's about showing up to practices. It's about listening to coaches. It's not just about the actual sport. It's about learning other things. And I know it's hard to find certain things because it's getting competitive in the recreation, but it's even more competitive in those competitive soccers and competitive basketball that have to travel around. This is great because it's here. They don't have to travel. They don't have to spend a lot of money to do this. And I just wanted to voice my opinion that I think it's super important to keep these recreation here and affordable for those who can't do the competitive.
Thank you very much. You know, one of the things the council, we've had a brief discussion about is it is getting so expensive, even in normal recreation. And we surely don't want to price kids out of the opportunity to participate. So we're open for ideas in that regards too, on how do we keep our programs inclusive. So ideas, if you have on that, when you have an opportunity to speak later, just, you know, a reminder, we're kind of flying at 20,000 feet tonight, trying to just get some ideas on how we move forward. So if there's no more comments now, we will have opportunity after the presentations to make comments. Then we'll go ahead and move into having just very brief comments, if you'd step to the pulpit and state your name, and if you're North Ogden, and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Dave, we'll start with you.
So I'm Dave Espinoza. I was asked to come and present on the parks, maintenance side of it. So the parks maintenance, in the last last couple months has been combined with, public works maintenance, actually. We found that they give us resources that, the parks maintenance gives us resources that, public works needs, and public works gives them, the maintenance on the parks, some resources. And so, so we actually brought that in and combined it with public works. The parks here in North Ogden, so, the Parks Department maintains 14 complexes, 9 of which are parks throughout the city, making up about 57 acres of park ground that we have to maintain, mow, sprinklers, those kind of things. And then another 25 acres of undeveloped park that we have to either, spray, fertilize, do different things like that. The other 5 facilities are the senior center, facility, the North Shore, Barker Park, has a couple of, park strips there. And, the triangle piece up there on 1050 as well. In these parks, they make up 9 bathrooms. 9 bathrooms, 8 playground. 10 Boweries, well, 10 and a half Boweries. There's kind of a half one at one of the parks, but, and so there's a lot of maintenance that goes into all these things. And the biggest thing I would probably say is those 9 bathrooms. Out of those 9 bathrooms this summer, talking with the maintenance crew, the 6 of them were vandalized. To where we had to replace toilets, sinks, petitions, doors, a door today actually, at one of our parks where it just got we're winterized and it got kicked in. So, it's things like that take away from, some of the other things that we could be putting some of our resources and money into. We're having to worry about vandalism and those kind of things. Along with, that's a lot of acreage to take care of parks, and we're made up of 7 full-time parks employees, and like I said, now combining with public works, there's 24 guys in there that we can kind of move guys around and help each other out where we can. Going to the playgrounds, like I said, there was 8 playgrounds throughout the parks there. We have one scheduled at Wallman Park this coming up year that is supposed to be replaced. And next year we are looking at Loma View, right?
Mhm.
So Loma View Park. And so, we're trying to put those onto a schedule to where we can actually, keep those maintained and usable for our community. Right now, Loma View is a perfect example. I think both of our slides have plates over them where we can't even use the slides because there was either cracks or broken parts. And so we're trying to bring, nice things to these parks so that we can, make them user friendly and so that people can use it here in the community. Another thing that Mayor and a couple of people have already talked about, the capacity issues at some of these parks. So out of all of our parks, there's only one park, and that's Bicentennial, that's over here by Lee's, is not used for youth sports. Some of them are used for, have multiple soccer fields, some of them have football, multiple baseball fields. Obviously, you have the amphitheater at Barker Park. Orton Park, I think, has 4 full soccer fields. If you count the little fields, I think it breaks down to like 12 youth soccer fields. And the big problem that we have there, as a city, in our 9 parks, 5 of them are also dual use storm drains. And so, if we have a big storm, we have to hold, we have to stop recreational things because now we're filling those parks up with with stormwater, and that's another thing that we just need to really look at going forward when we go to develop parks. You know, we need to try to get away from some of those dual use. It is good on one hand, but on the other hand, you know, we can't use some of those recreational aspects from in those facilities. So, if anybody's got any questions, maintenance wise.
Dave, excluding McGrath Park, do you think the average age is of our park equipment for the kids?
Oh, that is a good question. I know our oldest one was 16 years old. So I mean, you're probably at that 7, 8, 9.
I'm thinking that the Loma View is 28 years old, isn't
It's
Like the
25.
playground equipment.
it?
Yeah.
Playground equipment.
And I can get all that information.
No, I think the point I want to make is the city with its growth needs to get on a rotation schedule to replace this equipment. You can only kick things down the road so far.
Oh, absolutely.
And having been a resident of North Ogden for 35 years, I do find it amazing that we have very few flat parks. You know, they're basins.
Yes,
And,
they're all based.
you know, that's creating part of our capacity problem because, you know, how do you put a baseball field in a base?
Yeah.
We appreciate what you're doing, Dave, and just to comment, what we looked at is, what we found is that previously Parks and Recreation would show up to mow something, and then Public Works would show up to mow the detention basin, and we were kind of overlapping, so we are experimenting with trying to consolidate.
And I think it's working really,
Maintenance.
I think it's been awesome the last several months. Like, you know, they really, they've just joined together and it's been a really good thing. I think they've been able to help us on a few projects. We've been able to help them already. You know, we were only a couple months in, so it's been really good.
Somebody did say we are one North Ogden.
We are one. I did forget to talk about parking lots, and that's another one that we've kicked down the road multiple times because we can't use that Class C road funds for park funds. I mean, for parking lots at parks. And so we really put ourselves in, you know, we're crack sealing and trying to restripe, but it's getting to the point where some of these parking lots really need to get a new overlay or get on a rotation similar to the playground. So.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, any questions, council for Dave? It's kind of informal tonight, just a work session, so. Councilman Swanson or Councilman Dalpaz, do you have any questions for Dave?
All good so far.
Thanks.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thanks, Dave, good work. All right, we'll hear now from Becca Godfrey, who is our Recreation Director. Becca?
Yep, so, yep, my name is Becca Godfrey. Been with the city 18 years. So it kind of shows that I do love what I do, right? So just a few of the programs that I run basketball, some baseball, and that's all in all different sections, baseball, softball, t-ball, kickball, they're all for different ages. Football, running club, Christina actually heads that up. She wears many hats here. One thing that I probably want to point out is just basketball alone, I run 8 months out of a 12-month year. And the reason why it goes so long is because of the space that I use. I have 3 gyms to use: North Ogden Junior High, which I typically try to use for my older kids. I run from kindergarten to 9th grade. North Ogden Elementary, I can use them during the week. And that's just in the evening, so there's very minimal time that I can use that. And then the Green Acres Gym, just for practices only, they do not have places for crowds to sit. But it shows how much capacity that I just need to play 8 months out of 12 months, just basketball. I start in August and I don't even end till March, because I've got to section everyone out.
How many teams, Becca?
So roughly
approximately.
for boys basketball, I'll run about 28 teams. Girls, I'll run about 9. And then I'm maxed out on my littles. I max out leagues to 6 teams each, kindergarten, first and second. And that's because you only have a slot in the evenings to play, and you can't play them too late. So I have like a 5, 6, and 7 o'clock to get them to bed early. That's kind of a big
And
deal.
how would you say the consistency of the availability of those facilities have been?
It's gotten a little better. It's been a little roller coaster, a little bit. But we've worked through some things, so, we've been able to use them pretty consistently through the year.
But we're somewhat at their mercy for people to show up both at the gym.
Yes, the school, yeah, all the schools, and just hoping like, last year. I had scheduled a game to start at 8 because I'm needing to get, rolling and play till 4 in the evening on a Saturday. And they decided not to show up till 9. And I was like, so, just like those little things, if we did have gym capacity, would help exponentially. Like, and I'd also, with more gym space, you're pretty well saying to double the programs, get these teenage kids something to do, because I am the youth, the youth sports, because of capacity. It's very limited.
So what would you say your capacity is at basketball right now?
About what I'm running right now. And so it's a little scary. And so,
110%, huh? So to speak.
yeah, because I could run North Ogden. It's like schools like you in only certain hours. Like if I was to run a gym, I'd be open at 8 and close at 10 right at night. But they have certain hours that.
Are these all North Ogden kids that are playing, or is it?
As far as basketball, so majority of them, 85 to 95% will be North Ogden. You'll find a 5 to 15% will come from neighboring cities. But the reasons there are they've got cousins, they've got a friend that they want to play with, or it's been told to my face, not to pat myself on the back, but the quality of programs that we run here. They'll come over. And but for the most part, 85 to 95% of the gym using that. And that goes with baseball as well. So that's just kind of just a brief little thing of what I do. And so I think I'd really like to see if the community would like to expand that capacity. I think gym space is probably our best bet to do priority wise. With our weather, that's just something that we could really use if that's the desires of the community, and I can fill them for sure. Yep.
Thank you, Becca. Appreciate what you do.
Hey, Mayor,
Hey, council member.
can I just, one little comment on recreation that I've just noticed. Basketball registration just ended for boys. It is open for 2 weeks. It used to be open over a month. So now we're filling it in 2 weeks. So.
How many were turning away? Sure, we don't have that statistic.
Right now, I'm placing most people. So that's when it gets scary, is when I do have to just break my heart to turn people away. So right now, I'm squeezing everyone in I can. In fact, I think I just stopped wriggling.
He did. I was one of these parents that wasn't paying attention, and luckily 5th grade did not fill up, so I was able to get him registered
Aren't
yesterday.
you the fire marshal?
I don't plan too far ahead, and I figure if basketball starts in January, we're not registering in October.
I'm just concerned about the pay
Yes.
attention part.
Yeah. Oh, no, I don't pay. Yeah. So our rec sports are, and this is the same with baseball and football and all of them. They fill up super fast. So.
Randy, just, we'll have some more comments in a minute. Is that okay?
You asked for questions on the other one, and if you didn't ask for questions on this one, I just have.
I think we'll hold them if we could. So, thank you. Is Justin here? Did I see Justin?
Yeah.
All right, Justin.
He took his
Last time
hat
I
off.
saw you were dressed up as a cowboy, so I didn't recognize you.
You didn't recognize me because I don't have my hat.
short and I lost my tan. So I'm Justin Rasmussen. I am the aquatics manager at North Shore. Just to give you guys a little rundown of what we do at North Shore. North Shore is an awesome gym for North Ogden City. For those of you that haven't been there, you need to come on down. But North Shore, last year, we had 57 saves. 57 of them. The first save was 9 minutes into our season. The last one was 2 hours before we closed. So we're always busy there. Last year, I'm going to talk mostly about last year. We taught 2,189 kids how to swim or got them started. That starts out with kids mom and taught. We have 29 non-structured swim classes that are from 6 months old to 3 years of age. We have structured classes, 17 of them for 1-year-old to 3-year-olds. We have 58 structured classes for 3 to 5-year-olds. We have 58 structured classes for 6 and 7-year-olds, and 121 for 7 years and up. So we're busy teaching swim lessons. We teach 9 sessions of swim lessons. Well, it's been a while. Starting at the end of May and ending in August, and we do that in the early morning and in the evenings and on Saturdays. I do have a layout of what we do in the pool. We're there for 17 hours a day all summer long. So we're always busy. There's never a dull time there. We offer fitness programs for anyone that wants to come. We have 7 fitness classes a week that are structured. We have 13 hours of non-structured fitness time, and we have 12 hours of any lap swimming that anyone would like to do at the pool. After hours, we do group reservations. We have 12 hours a week, which we can facilitate 6,400 people for group reservations every week. Something that is near and dear to me is the staff and training at North Shore. North Shore, we are able to employ 65 to 80 youth, or I guess anyone, but it's mostly the youth of this community that come and work for me. So that's about 80 kids a week that come and work with us for 25 to 30 hours a week. They're either a cashier, a grounds, or a lifeguard. We do a lot of training there. We do about 200, the lifeguards do about 220 hours of training a month at our facility to keep certified and up to standard in their lifeguarding. Cashiers do about 15 hours of training a month, and grounds do about 10 hours of training a month. And then on top of that, the lifeguards, we have a lifeguard class, which is about 35 to 40 hours. If you want to be a lifeguard, you have to take that and you're certified to become an American Red Cross lifeguard. If you want to be a swim instructor, then you have to take an additional 40 hours of training, and then you'll be a water safety instructor. Some events that we do at North Shore, besides our public swim, we have a flick and flow, which we watch the movie in the pool. Last year, we were able to get a sponsor, and we had 753 people attend our sponsored flick and flow. We have a summer stomp, which is back to school summer stomp, where the kids can come in right before school and have basically it's run around and swim late at night and listen to good music. But well, depending on who you ask, if it's good music, but they think it's good music. We had 2,385 people attend our free ramp days this year. So our ramp days are a huge success. Just in conclusion, our average daily patron average on public swim is 886 people a day. And we were able to have 296 reservations this year. So I will give you guys a couple of these things. If you have any questions.
So Justin, talk to us about upcoming maintenance. The pool now is about 20
years old.
20 years old.
Right, yep. And I don't know if Dave was talking about one of the playgrounds being in my pool.
that is one of our playgrounds that we need to definitely be thinking of. It is 20 years old. I feel like a playground, coming from the parks aspect and being a playground auditor myself, I know that a playground lasts about 15 to 18 years. That's what you can get out of it. Now add chlorine, sun, and all the water, and we're getting by, but it's needing some help.
How's the cost of chlorine going?
Cost of chlorine is going up. We're able to get it last year. We were a little concerned, but we're doing okay. That's something that I could ask Ken about more. He would know.
Not just trying to get into the numbers or anything, but I think, you know, there's maintenance that needs to be done there. I think the
For sure.
council needs to understand and plan for that.
Mhm.
How's the pool holding up itself?
Luckily, we have an awesome maintenance guy, Ken, down at the pool that stays on top of things. But things, you can only Band-Aid things so long. It's time to resurface the slide. It's time to look at a new playground. It's time to look at the splash pad, maybe add a new feature. Everybody likes to come to North Shore because it's a fun, safe, clean environment. And when it starts to get dingy, that's when we're going to start losing people. We want to make sure that we stay on top of things like that down there.
Yeah, you do a great job down there, and our team does a good job.
Well, thank you.
Just for the public's, there's been, I think, some confusion on this. That pool is funded basically operations through the RDA, Redevelopment Agency. That money does not come out of well, we paid off the debt.
Mhm.
Right now, any shortfall in operations is funded by RDA. That will not go on forever, right, John?
Correct. In
Uh,
fact, I believe the last 2 years we've been in the black.
So, yeah. So in the future, that'll be a general obligation of the city.
Yeah, we'll work hard so we want to pay for it. We want to keep doing what we're doing.
You've done good work there. All right, we'll now hear from the esteemed John Call, who will talk to us. Mr. Call, if you'd step up to the podium, please, and talk to us about events.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm John. I'm filling in for events. We do have someone selected, and that contract will come to the council here in a couple of weeks, we hope. But they have committed to putting on 10 events that we've done in the past, which is movies in the park, Fright Night, Glow Run, the tree lighting ceremony, the North Pole event, Arbor Day, the Children's Entrepreneur Market, Food Truck Thursdays, the Flick and Float at the pool that Justin mentioned, as well as Santa visits. So those are the 10 activities that will be happening with them taking the lead on the majority of them. There also is Charity Days happening, as you all know, but that's being handled by a volunteer committee. So I've carved that out on my sheet. There are a lot more than 10 things that go into that event. But we've got 6 individuals committed, and I know they're already actively engaging other volunteers to help them. So that's happening as well. Then there's 5 events that we've had employees of the city say, hey, I can do this, or I can take this one on. Most of them are actually Justin, who just stood up. He mentioned a couple of them. They happen at his pool. One is the polar plunge, that really the Utah Special Olympics does most of the work, but we do have a lot of help in that. Benny's boat race and school stomp. And then we have other employees who are taking over a lot of the work, parks reservations, as well as the advertising for events and other things parks are doing, including signups for rec and things like that. Then these are the things that we currently don't have a plan to make happen. One is the Kids Arts Camp. One is Music Mondays. We don't have anyone for the Weber County Fair booth. We don't currently have a plan for Santa letters, although I think that'll change in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. Right now, I'm doing special events requests. The Chalk It Up Festival is typically run by another group, but we're not necessarily making them happen. Same thing with the Kiwanis activities like the breakfast and the Easter egg hunt. The ramp summer activities is typically handled by the pool, the Veterans Day program, and then mass gathering permits. So those are a lot of stuff. There's some things that are being pushed on to residents or other entities where we're just scaling back a little bit, not of our support, but of the boots on the ground stuff that we can do. I know this year for Chalk It Up, for example, like Dave and his team stepped in and helped coordinate the trash cans and things to just make sure that they had what they needed. And we've been working with some of those groups on just helping them understand that some of those things are going to just need to take over because we can't continue to carry the load or I'm going to burn Dave out and I don't want to burn Dave out. So I make sure he golfs at least once a week, not on city time. Let's make that clear. But that he gets out on his extra hours to be stressed. So sorry, David. And that's what I had for you, council.
Any questions, council? I would just add that Councilman Barker has the assignment over Parks and Recreation and is coordinating the activities with the community group on Cherry Days.
They're meeting right now.
On there, they meet, yeah,
I'm
regularly,
missing
and
it.
I think it's going to be a great activity this year, and I think it shows the willingness of some of our community members to get involved when asked. And so, and just to clarify, John, so the public knows, I believe the council approved a part-time person to coordinate those events you talked about.
So the budget for that position or that contractor is $25,000, and that's what we've approved as an expense for it. So, yeah.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Call? Councilmember Dalpaz and Councilmember Swanson, any questions?
Not at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Zella? Come and talk to us about the senior citizens. All right.
All right. Hey, nice to see you. Thanks for being here. Appreciate all you do. I just wanted to let you know that we do appreciate you over at the senior center. I also appreciate my seniors that have put forth the effort. They've got a pretty good little group out there, and it's kind of a challenge for some of them because it starts and they don't like to start. But we do appreciate the support from you guys. And also I want to thank the Parks and Recreation for helping us with our lawns and our watering and our all that stuff that they do, because they do work really hard. The senior center, I have some like handouts if you guys would like to have some. This is kind of some of the schedules and the things we do. Some of the seniors have already talked about what we do and their concerns and their thoughts, and so I'm not going into a lot of detail. We just have a lot of the some of the things that have been really important for us is we try to keep the cost down for seniors. Since the COVID has come, the COVID has been really hard on the seniors, as it is with other people also. But a lot of them are struggling, and we're starting to try and bring them back and get them back so they feel comfortable and safe, and they feel like coming out. You know, it's been a really an important thing for them in their socialization. They are able to get back with their friends. They've been able to participate in the events. We have the line dance, and we have the tap dance, and we have several exercise activities that they do. Lunch and dinner is an important part of the seniors for them to have a balanced meal. That meal is the only meal that some of the seniors are able to have for the whole day, because they really don't eat right sometimes. They just are on now getting onto a fixed budget. They're having a hard time with that, and they're worried about different other issues, taxes, et cetera, and stuff like that. So we're trying to keep the costs down. We have a lot of activities. We try to have the activities that are helpful for the seniors. We have the driving class, the taxes, haircuts, we have dance bands, we have, they're all listed here, so I won't go into a lot of detail because I'm sure I'll forget a couple of them, but We have Medicare enrollment, as you know, right now, it's Medicare enrollment time, and so they are starting to sign up for their whatever program they need. And then on Thursdays, we have started going back on Thursday nights for our dinner meals and our programs. And again, them are listed here on these things, so if you'd like to have some of them, and you're welcome to have that, or if any of the audience would like some, we have enough for them to have also. I'm trying to think of, it does provide a place for them to have and go and associate, like Debbie said. And they have made a lot of friends and a lot of good acquaintances. In fact, most of the people there at the center has never known each other until they got there. And they've started to become friends. Now they play cards, they go out and eat, they dance, it's just fun to see them and see them get back together and socialize, because a lot of them are really struggling with, some of them have depression and stuff like that. I was there today and I had a little gentleman come in today, and he was just kind of a small little guy, and he came in and he says, I've been in my house for 3 or 4 months. I've retired. I haven't had nothing to do. And he come in and he says, can you actually come in and play pool? He says, I have missed this so much. He says, I am so thankful and I'm so glad that I came in today. He says, I just suffer from depression, and my family has told me to get out and go to the doctor and get some help. And he says, this has made such a big difference in my life as I've come in today. And he says, so I just want you guys to know that the senior center is really important. It's a really important aspect for them. They are struggling in some ways, but they're starting to come back, and they're getting, and with the exercising and the exercising and that they're doing, they're starting to get stronger in a lot of ways. And I do appreciate my volunteers at the center, because we have quite a few volunteers, and they have been really helpful, and we just appreciate everything you guys have done. I can't think of anything else. I'm sure if they're able to and they want to give you some more ideas, they can let you know.
Council, any questions for Zella? Thank you, Zella.
Thank you. Okay.
Appreciate it. All right. Now, we're going to hear from Christina. She's going to talk to us about parks and trails and playgrounds and so.
What else? Tell me.
Well, whatever you'd like. So, go ahead. Christina.
I'm Christina, and I am on the Parks and Trails Committee. Just wanted to tell you all who are here a little bit about us. We are a volunteer-run committee, just citizens in a nonprofit organization to help support the Parks and Trails, or Parks and Recreation specifically, but also all the parks and trails that are in the city. We do surveys and research to find out what specific people in this community are looking for or needing. We are checking into safety. We try to support wherever Parks and Recreation Department is lacking. If they're nervous or worried about something, then we are there as volunteers to help support that. Recently, we have received several different bids for the Wadman playground that's going in, just again to help and support. And we brought those bids forth to the council, made a recommendation, and we are in the works. Thank you to all of you to get that nailed down and figured out. We're hoping to have it in place before mid-March. So that would be fantastic. That spot is very small spot. I'm sure you all are aware. And so the budget that the council has had in mind for years, with this rotation of every year replacing a different playground, was sufficient for that small playground. We're hoping to make it more of an all accessible playground and maybe add a little bit of funds there to have that to provide for the city as well. We always are looking for input and suggestions of what people are interested in specifically as far as which features they like in playgrounds. And so we have collected a lot of data, but if anyone is trying to get a hold of us or find out more, we're on Facebook at North Ogden Parks and Trails. We also are always looking for support in service projects. We also collect donations to fund different projects, like we put up some signs to mark trails in the community. One of our goals is that we're wanting to not only see the fulfillment of the Wadman playground, but help put into place a fantastic asset for the Loman View Park. And just wanted to have everyone in the room think for a second about one of the playgrounds here in North Ogden. Just imagine it for a second. You're probably imagining almost the exact same thing, because almost all of our playgrounds are very similar. And one thing that we are advocating for is something that's different. I don't know if any of you have been to Birch Park or to the Smith Family Park, but those are more of adventure parks. There's a high adventure park in Ogden as well, something that provides something different, you know, for older ages or for different, just to have something different to provide for the community. Unfortunately, with the budget that the city has in mind for every year, the 100,000 is all it's going to get you is a bare bones playground that has basically just one level where you can have, you know, maybe 8 kids play on it at a time, with chips on the ground, no other features nearby, no themes. Not going to get you any kind of swings. So anyway, what we're trying to say is we would love if we could expand that budget or look for more sponsors, obviously try to get ramp grants, any other grants or sponsors that we can get, so that we can up our budget a little bit for the Loman View Park specifically, because that has a bigger space than Wadman. We're hoping we can do more with that. Pickleball courts have been brought up. Some kind of big climbing rope structure has been brought up. The slides that utilize the space with the big hill have been brought up. So we are still in the research phase with the city, obviously, to try to come up with ideas that are within budget. Just so you're aware, though, the Smith Family Park and Birch Creek, those kind of playgrounds cost around $3 million. And so our $100,000 budget is going to get you nowhere close to that. So we have to try to, you know, console the people who come and complain to us. We are collecting feedback. We love to hear it and we want to advocate for them. But it is kind of hard to explain that we have little to work with. And so we just feel like we would love to add more value to the city by trying to get something different and bigger, something that is unique, that people will want to stay in our city to use our parks instead of travel outside of the city.
Christina, what effort is being made by the Parks and Trails Committee, for instance? That's called Smith Park for a reason. Bert Smith donated a good portion of the land and things out there. I think the new parks that was put in South Ogden was a $6 million park.
Okay.
That was funded with a general obligation bond. But just wondering, is the Parks and Trails group contacting anyone to see if they would like to be a sponsor of one of these parks?
We haven't gotten to that phase yet. I mean, obviously we can start collecting that as soon as we have our 501(c)(3)s to be finalized, which I'm not exactly sure if that's been done yet or not, but we are collecting smaller donations, but I'm just saying, like, as far as if we wanted to have a sponsor like that size, we have not started reaching out, but I know that we've collected different names, volunteer names of people who are willing to help us search for volunteers and start up different things. And so I know, especially with pickleball courts, we had several people at our last meeting who were sign me up to help recruit sponsors. So I think it depends on what we propose and what we have to offer, where we're going to get the sponsors from.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, John, but I think we've had a citizen volunteer to help with pickleball courts in regards to cement and finishing it. We have a recommended location. I think also, Christina, you're aware of this, but the public ought to be aware too. The council continues to look at development and where we can have parks. I think with the two recent developments, the council has negotiated with developers to provide some space for green space and some parks. Of course, as we all know, we've got, how many acres sitting up there, John, in Barker Park? Undeveloped.
So if you, that's part of that 25 left, that's still left to be developed at Barton Park.
So, yeah, about 14 acres.
No,
Yeah, of the 25 is part of the park.
Yeah. So, that's sitting there still undeveloped some 20 years. Has it been 20 years?
just about.
About 20 years, so work to be done. Thank you for all your passion and effort, Christina. We
Thank you for your support.
Okay, we've heard from those who oversee the various areas that we're talking about tonight. As I mentioned earlier, we're surely open for comments and suggestions on how we go about addressing these issues that have been talked about this evening. So at this point in time, we'll open it up for public comments and questions. I should make note that not all questions may be answered tonight, but our commitment is if we can answer them tonight, we'll do some research and respond on our city page. So at this point in time, if anyone would like to come to the pulpit, once again, just state your name. And come if you're North Ogden resident, and please limit your comments to 5 minutes.
But they can see it as well. Tell them to turn on their cameras. Hey, Mayor.
I'm Mary Carter. I live in North Ogden for 52.5 years. We've been paying taxes all those years. And the Northview Senior Center is the best thing going for seniors. Having Northview keeps us safe to eat and socialize. I go there for yoga as my third physical therapy. The other 2 times I go over to the physical therapy and sports medicine place. And I'm hoping to be able to walk on my own with the therapy I've been getting. Seniors have gotten high dose flu shots, 1 to 2 boosters, a Prednor 13 pneumonia shot. Lunch is the main meal for some of the seniors in this community. We only dance 3rd Saturday of the month and no weeknight. And if you wanted to use part of it for a community center, it could be clean, as long as it's cleaned up and returned to the seniors so they don't have a whole lot of germs to kill us all. So I'm supporting Bella and the center, and there's a lot of people that would be scared to do the same. So keep our senior center going.
Thanks,
We
Mary.
need it.
Thank you very much. See, Councilman Swanson and Dalpez, if your cameras are working, we'd love to see your faces tonight. I guess some, not all.
I'm camera shy tonight.
All right,
I didn't realize you could see us.
we can now, thank you.
All right, I've never been to one of these meetings. My name's Jeannie Booth. I am a North Ogden resident. I grew up here as well. Mine might just be more rhetorical question that I just kind of want to get some thoughts out. So the topic of increasing funds came up, and I thought if we're needing to increase funds, we could raise prices for non-city residents that want to do our recreation programs. I know inflation hasn't helped my family a ton, so I wouldn't be too thrilled to have price increases just because it's become more popular. And then more or less rhetorical question. I don't know if T-ball and baseball games are ever played at North Ogden Park, but it seems like the majority are always in Oaklawn, Lowland View, and Pleasant View, which confuses me of why I'm always driving to Pleasant View and like North Ogden's parts, like right down the street. I also think it would be great to beautify our city a bit more. I know there's an acre of land at the top of Washington by the new light on 400 East. And it would not be nice to see a walking path or a walkway with benches, trees, a reading area. Like a walkway with a rose garden. I had actually written down kids like zip lines, like what they have at Smith Family Park over by Smith Nevers. But now they know it's 3 million, maybe the walkway with rose bushes or pickleball. I'm pretty sure pickleball will fit in that area. I've heard different ideas of what that land is going to be used for, but I think that would be a nice area to try to beautify our city a little bit more. Kind of another rhetorical question, but I don't know if the thought has ever been made to put a dome over the aquatic center so that it could be used year round. I enjoy swimming programs. My kids enjoy swimming programs. I've done their evening activities, aerobics, and I do have to say, like, I know that they've become a lot more popular as well, even with swimming lessons, and they had to start opening up for evening classes too, which I've enjoyed, because then both me and my husband can see our kids swim too. That's all.
Thank you for your suggestions. Appreciate it.
Randy Wynn, North Ogden. I've mentioned this before, but I thought I'd just bring it up again tonight. The only flat park that we have in North Ogden is that second section of Barker Park. And I thought, and to develop that whole thing would be very costly. My thought is if we put a road in and off of 2600, made a little parking lot, put in some pickleball courts, so our people don't have to go to Pleasant View to use the pickleball courts. We could start that process, and that would be the beginning. Later on, if we wanted to put a soccer field in, again, it's the only flat park we had that we pointed out earlier. So that's just my thought tonight. Thanks.
Anyone else that's here? John, anyone online?
We do have Dallin Barker online.
All right, Dallin?
Sorry, I had all the 50 million menus come up saying, we need to use your mic, all that stuff. Anyways, have we looked to see if all the other neighboring cities, their recreation is also maxed out? Because if not, maybe we look at partnering with them and sharing field space. Because I know, like, we've got Majestic right down the street. We've got Orion. I don't know if they have gyms, but it seems like they probably do. The other thought I had listening to, Mrs. Anderson talk, try and get more youth groups involved in maybe planning activities. I mean, they are a great resource. They have a lot of fresh ideas and just cool things that us old folks don't necessarily think of anymore. So those were my 2 cents. That's all I've got.
And let's see, I think I've lost the connection here. That's okay, I'll talk loud. It's a good way to shut me up, take away my microphone. Some of you may have just read that Harrisville has on the ballot a general obligation bond, I think, for $6 million. I think one of the opponents has suggested that, if everyone's at capacity, what can we do together? Frankly, there hasn't been a lot of success of doing that, but I think it's worth pursuing and looking into. Because I believe everyone's kind of facing the same growth problems and capacity problems. Becca, I don't know if you wanted to comment on the use of the Pleasant View parks versus our own, and we do some sharing, I believe. They do flag football primarily in their fields. We do share some fields.
They do flag, North Ogden does tackle, but I use their fields for practicing. And then our upper division, fields for baseball, softball.
Can
We
can
actually
can we have
share-
can we have Becca come to the rostrum so we can hear her online?
Yeah, I could maybe, if you want to come, or I could maybe try to
What do I need to repeat?
everything.
Okay, so, to field sharing is, North Ogden and Pleasant View have a very good working relationship with each other. In the question of, do we reach out and with the capacities, the answer is yes. North Ogden runs tackle, Pleasant View runs flag, but I also share their parks to fit the teams in to practice. We also, in our upper divisions, from mostly 5th grade through 9th grade, we share gym space with each other. And in fact, we had a meeting today and where our eyes were huge, thinking, how are we gonna do this? But we're gonna make it work, but we work very closely with each other to make both resources from each city work.
Okay, thank you.
We do have another individual online.
All right.
So we have Kathy.
Okay, Kathy.
Hi, I'm kind of new to this, so I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we
My name
can.
is Kathy Beatty, and I work with the AARP Tax Aid Group. And I wanted to thank both North Ogden and then Zella specifically for allowing us to help between 200 and 400 of the senior citizens in the area prepare and transmit their taxes each year. We feel like we're providing a really good service, both in doing the taxes. Plus, you know, it benefits the 5 to 6 volunteers that we have preparing their taxes each year. And so I just appreciate the support given to us by North Ogden and Zella, and hope to continue it for many, many years. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Anyone else online, John?
Nope.
Anyone here like to make further comment? Mr. Burns?
Thank you, Kevin Burns. I'm from North Ogden. So listen to our situation. You know, I've sat through a couple of city council meetings in my lifetime in a number of cities and with the county commission. And our problem is, you know, it's self-inflicted. We have invited so many people to live along the Wasatch Front, and we're just overdeveloped, and here we are. So it's a decent problem to have, but it's a problem that we need to work together to solve. This has been one of the most encouraging meetings I've ever attended. Y'all should let your program directors speak on your behalf more often. Because they kind of got the compassionate juices flowing, or whatever. It's like, okay, we gotta help these people out, because sometimes we kind of listen to the same thing over and over and like, okay, maybe I don't care anymore. And after tonight, listening to them, and we need to care more. At least, you know, try. I know that we talk about the youth programs and they're at capacity. Everybody's at capacity. We talk about the development. The mayor spoke of the development where we just say we had the developers, you know, throw in on some green space. But I didn't hear a whole lot of problems about green space. You know, we need basketball courts, and we need those types of things, and we need gym space and those. So maybe it's time to figure that problem out, how we work with the developer. We hear a lot of talk about donors and private sponsors and those types of things. Those are hard to get. That's a specific type of personality that can go out and recruit that type of money. Mayor, you've participated in a number of those areas, and no, it's not just anyone that can walk in off the street and get money, right? That's a special talent. So we need to work on identifying those people and putting that in place and work for those donors, and work towards them. I spent a little bit of time working with RAMP. So I understand how that process works a little bit, and there's a lot of money there. It's a lot of fun to work with. But North Ogden has a lot to offer. Y'all are in a pickle. It's nice to see this group of people. That's a large group of people that come out and support this process, and so that's encouraging. I think there was something else, but it left my brain. Could be the pain in my shoulder. So thank you. I appreciate everything you're doing. I appreciate your folks here tonight. Your director. I was going to say, as I recently recognized that I qualify for the senior citizen programs, more in favor of the senior citizen programs now. I don't know that tax preparation is going to be my recreation of choice, but I appreciate that they're doing that over there and keeping those folks off the street, because it's important to keep seniors off the street as well. I remember what I was gonna mention. I have my mom lives out in Davis County, and she's 80, almost 80, and she's got her little group of girlfriends. And, they kind of work the senior center circuit. They bounce between Sunset and Riverdale, and they got their little thing. And so I'm sure we've got some of that over here, and so that's good for us. To take care of those folks and give them a place to be. And in my current job, I spend a lot of time interacting with youth. They're in trouble. They're at their struggle. And when you see 4-year-olds show up looking for help, we got problems. We can use some help. These are the types of programs that we're looking for. Julie talked about it. We've had some discussion. Every kid's looking for an outlet. The world's a hard place, and we need to work to help. Thanks.
Thanks, Kevin.
My name is Lauren Jepson. I'm from North Ogden, and obviously I'm a senior citizen. However, it's not senior citizens that I'm going to discuss here tonight. And I represent an organization which was initiated here in North Ogden in 2018. And that is a North Ogden community band. During that time, we have provided opportunity, recreational and cultural enhancement for a goodly number of North Ogden and Pleasant View participants, including also people that came from Morgan, Brigham City. I can't remember all the places, but anyway, we have provided an opportunity for people that have musical talents to come and express those in a formal situation. And in doing so, we have provided service to the community by participating in the Cherry Days parades and the events at the park. Also, we have provided entertainment for the community. We have sponsored a jazz festival during the month of June. We have had a celebration of community bands on the 24th of July. And we've also had a final end of summer concert that we do at Barker Park Amphitheater. All of these events have been mainly at the Barker Park Amphitheater, a very beautiful facility, and has helped out our community immensely in cultural improvement. In doing so, we have enlisted groups that come from Riverdale, Ogden, Clearfield, and most recently, we've also become aware of a group that has been developed in Kaysville. And we're going to be inviting them for the celebration of community events coming up on this 24th of July celebration in 2023. Anyway, we, like I say, are an organization which operates on very short amount of funds. It's a completely volunteer organization. We don't receive any monies from the city other than providing us for a place to rehearse and a place to present our programs at Barker Park Amphitheater. And we appreciate that the city has done this for our members of the community that have greatly appreciated the recreational and cultural enhancement that we can provide. And I hope that even though we've managed to survive on very few funds, mostly have been through ramp grants, and Parks and Recreation have assisted us in the past in obtaining those grants, one of which was a $10,000 grant that helped us immensely to obtain percussion equipment that we needed for our band and other things that we struggle to be able to purchase with the limited amount of funds that we do have. So anyway, we continue to request the support of the city in this particular activity. I know that most of the time recreation is thought about as being football, basketball, all the other things, sports activities. But music is a recreational activity also. So please consider that in your deliberations. Thank you.
Sandy Cochran, North Ogden resident. I've only lived in North Ogden for 2 years, so I'm not sure I really understand what the original intent of the amphitheater was. But it seems to me that it's grossly underutilized and that possibly that could be an area for the older youth of the city to meet, to, have a youth center, a place to get together, to do things, to keep them out of trouble and off the streets. Just a thought.
Hi, Meg Sanders. I'm a North Ogden resident. I get the money problem. I now work in city government for Ogden City, and tonight we're having a city council meeting that's going to be pretty controversial. So check your newspapers tomorrow. But I get when cities have got to figure out how to have the money to do the things that the citizenry wants them to do, especially when you have citizenry that wants really fancy things. We can't have the $6 million park just out of our own pocket. If you go down to St. George and you go check out their park, I don't know if you've been to Thunder Junction, it's amazing, but it wasn't 100% the city paid for it. There was a lot of donations involved. A lot of people had to step up. I know in Ogden City, when we're looking to do things like the Dumpy Art Plaza, notice the name of it. It's the Dumpy Art Plaza. Somebody had to give the funds and the land and make all that happen. It's still the same thing. So Ogden City is going to propose a new way to do parking in the city, and everybody's trying to figure out how to pay for things. I wanted to point out though, I coach 2 soccer teams for SWAT soccer, and I'm constantly vying for field space because Weaver's got Pee Wee football. And every Saturday and all during the week, there are hundreds of people at all of our fields. Kids, grandparents, it is a real place of community, those fields, those rec programs. It's not just saving the youth or for the youth. It's the family. It's bringing the family together, which I feel like is the purpose of government in large ways, is to build community, to bring families together. And that's what those fields are doing. The last thing I wanted to say is the senior center. I don't know if I saw something. Is the senior center under threat? Is that something that's happening in our city, that our seniors are feeling like their senior center is in danger? Because that to me would be really awful. Our parks and our senior center are taking care of our most vulnerable citizens. And to have people come out in the dark at night to protect something that makes them feel like a part of a community that a large number of them help build. I would think it would be a travesty to even talk about taking away something like that. So, but again, thank you for all your work. I do now have a new perspective of how hard you work, and it is appreciated.
Yeah, I'm personally not aware of any threat of taking and closing the senior citizen center. I don't know where that came from, but surely we want to look at it and make sure it's meeting the needs of the community in the most efficient, effective way. But I don't know, Councilman Barker, were you aware of anything? No. John, were you aware of anything?
No.
No? Okay,
Mayor,
so that answer that question, Megan, we're not aware of.
There was a post on Facebook.
I just,
We're looking at what programs to get rid of or what's
Yeah.
not working.
Meg saying there was something on Facebook saying we were looking at programs to get rid of. I think maybe a better way to say that is how can we maximize them and plan for the future? I think is the purpose of the meeting tonight. Councilmember Delpas, did you have something you wanted to say?
I was just going to say, since I am on the senior board, I'm not aware of anything that has ever been conveyed that the senior center is going to be losing any services or anything like that. So if there has been anything that's floating around, it's probably a little bit of misinformation or maybe something that was misinterpreted somewhere.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else online, John?
Nope.
Anyone else here tonight that would like to give us some suggestions or? All right. Step up here, my friend. Tell us your name.
I'm Brock Watson, and I haven't seen very much football fields, and I love football and I love sports. So I was just thinking to keep it one
Where would you like those?
anywhere.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
So Becca says something of the nature, if they build it, they will come. Or something like that. I think was the message there. Anyone else this evening?
Hello, I'm Jeff Brady. I've been a North Ogden resident for 7 years now. Before that, I grew up in Ogden, so not that far away either. I've been using North Ogden Park since I was a little kid. Great sledding areas in the winter time to say. If we're trying to find ways of, I guess, maximizing or finding, I don't know, best way of utilizing everything is maybe we could look at dual purposes. If there's some kind of youth activity we could set up during the times that the seniors aren't using the senior citizen area, like ping pong tournaments or something that's fairly low cost and still provides activities for the youth. I'm just a very frugal person, so I don't really like to ask people to pay more money, but I'm also wearing the shorts I've had since middle school.
Hey, they still fit. That's
Baggy was in style back then.
that's an accomplishment right there.
So, but no, if there are services the city wants, I think we should find a way, if we can do it without raising taxes, even better. Bake sales, I don't know. I mean, I'd be willing to bake some cookies if it helps raise some money for the parks, whatever activities we do. But those are just my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Sharing your thoughts with us. Anyone else this evening? All right. Thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate your comments. I think we've heard some good things tonight that we'll shortly take into consideration. So We've heard from our department heads. We've heard from the public. Is there anything else in regards to public comments not related to Parks and Recreation that someone would like to make this evening? Anyone online, John, that would like to make that comment?
Nope, no raised hands.
All right, then we're going to go on to comments from the council. I'm going to ask each council member if they have anything. Let's start with you, Council Member Dowpass. Do you have anything you'd like to say or?
Nothing tonight.
Nothing tonight. Council Member Swanson, anything you'd like to add this evening?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Great. Over the last week or so, we've received the emails from various citizens, seniors and young parents alike. What came to my mind was that I think the unspoken message from council sometimes is louder than our spoken message. And I think perhaps inadvertently and unintentionally, we may have created a feeling that Parks and Recreation was at risk. And I think we can take that on ourselves and learn from that and try to do better at better conveying the supportive messages that we feel in our hearts, but don't always make it into words that convey that. Speaking for myself, I've probably made comments in the past, not probably, definitely made comments in the past that interpreted negatively when that isn't my feeling about Parks and Recreation. So lesson for me and how I communicate with the public. I have several takeaways from listening to the comments and reading the emails tonight and over the last week. One, the importance that our Parks and Recreation has on the mental health of our community, both for the youth and for the seniors. We've heard repeated messages about the importance of investing in the facilities that are necessary for us to have a Parks and Recreation system. And in my mind, that means more than just grassy fields. We've heard a shortage of basketball courts, pickleball courts, it goes on and on and on. I was struck by a message that came through in a couple of the emails that a couple of folks mentioned tonight, that it gives our recreation programs and our parks give both seniors and the youth and everyday adults an opportunity to be successful. I hadn't thought of it quite in that way, and I was struck by that thought, so I wrote that down. Our chief of police didn't speak tonight, but he can certainly share with us the research that has been conducted nationally that shows the relationship between good parks and recreation systems and public safety as a whole. And public safety is job number one, as we've stated for our council. The elephant in the room is obviously that we are either at or rapidly approaching capacity in both our parks and recreation programs. That doesn't just magically go away. It means an expenditure of revenue somewhere down the line to either increase our parks, increase our facilities, increase our capacities to match the current demand that we have and the demand that will continue to grow. So that's something for us to think about as we go forward. A number of folks have mentioned the possibility of partnering with our surrounding communities. I've been resistant in partnering in the past because past partnerships have generally meant that North Ogden footed most of the bill and others benefited. However, we have a senior recreation center that other communities don't have, and that their senior residents are welcomed in to use. I'm wondering if we can't partnership in some way with Harrisville if they should pass the bond and build the rec center, their general rec center, that we can't have some reciprocal access to that rec center for our general public in the way that their seniors have had general access to our senior center. I think the senior center is a valuable place. It is a large investment that North Ogden taxpayers make every year to maintain the senior rec center over there, but it does provide wonderful programs. More than anything tonight, I'm grateful for those that have taken the time to write us, to call us, to post messages on Facebook, to show up at the meeting tonight. Now it's our responsibility as council to try to figure out, how do we move forward? How do we fund the needs that we have in these areas, and identify, excuse me, where do we go and how do we get there? It's going to be an interesting conversation and process. But again, a hearty thank you to all of you that have come this evening. Sorry I couldn't be there with exposure to COVID. I didn't want to expose all of you to that.
Thank you, Councilmember Swanson. Councilmember Ekstrom, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Sure, just again, thank you for coming. It's wonderful to have some creative resources show up in the room. And by that, I mean your time, your attention, your energy, and your skill. We kind of trade those for material resources. And a lot of stretching of those material resources can happen when people donate their creative resources, right? If you come with a plan and you can say, okay, well, here's the money. Okay, that's over here with these people. And then we have, well, what do we want? If we can be really, really clear about what it is we need, what it is we want, and how to kind of get those two to meet together, because North Ogden is rich in both of those resources, right? We've got tremendous talent here. And so we just need to, if we can talk to each other more and figure out who's got what. There's a scene from Fantastic Mr. Fox. I don't know if you've ever read that book or watched it, but it's like, okay, these animals are all trying to go up against these farmers, and they get together and they say, okay, what have we got? The badger says, I'm a demolitions expert. It's that kind of thing, right? We need to have people volunteer to say, like, what can you do? Because there's so much richness, wealth in those resources. And then it's finding, just as Kevin pointed out, there are certain people that are good at, getting the money from people. Those people are really helpful. So, I guess just encourage to reach out. It's like, when we want something, I'm okay with wanting stuff, and then it's just like, okay, well, what do we need to do to get it? Because I think we are really, really blessed with tremendous resources. It's just a matter of getting them accessed and allocated. And so thank you so much for coming. If you can come with a plan and some ideas, it really helps us. I mean, we've got the council and the mayor, we come and we have our perspectives and we do the best we can, but wow, when citizens show up, it's really like, wow, there's a whole other, trove of information and knowledge and skill and everything else that can come and help us. So thank you again. And just encourage you to get out with your neighbors and come up with ideas and bring them to us. We love it.
Councilmember Barker, do you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah,
this
just
evening?
a couple comments. I hope the seniors know we're not coming. As I mentioned to Zella last week when I spoke to her, the senior center opens 8 a.m. Monday morning and it closes Friday evening, and it's busy all day, every day. It is a really utilized building and a facility that is vitally important to our community. So I have no desires to cut anything. We need to keep supporting you. And then recreation's the same way. When we're opening programs and filling them up within 2 weeks, that shows that there is a demand and there's a need. We don't need to have people always showing up and voicing their support because we see the support. And then I think it was Dave told me yesterday, just the whiz flag or football. We spent, what was it, $40,000 the last 5 years on football equipment. And we generated $80,000 at the same time, so we spend money, but we made more than that, so recreation does support itself.
Thanks, Councilman Barker, and I'm still waiting to see the final numbers before I opine on if it supports itself, but that's okay if it doesn't. You know, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Because we got that, I mean,
Right.
I don't know what more one could ask. All right, before I comment, Chief, you've been kind of quiet. Did you have anything to say tonight, that you'd like to add? Don't feel obligated, but if you'd like to.
Sure.
And then any other of the department heads before I comment?
So first I have a question. Me and Councilman Delpaz do. How old do you have to be before we come and party with this young lady that told us how great the senior center was? How old do I have to be before I come hang out with you? 55. Ooh, I'm almost.
Hey, I'm in. Me and Swanson are in.
I tell you, the only threat the senior center has at this moment is that Kevin Burns is now old enough to. That's dangerous. No, just touch really quick on Councilman Swanson's comment about park and rec and public safety and how they can really contribute to each other and work together. We all know the saying, something about idle hands, and you know what I mean. I don't know what the rest of it is, but there's communities out there that had no park and rec. They had nothing for the youth, nothing to offer the youth. So they go find their own, they're gonna go find their own way to keep busy. And more and more these days, sadly, our kids are growing up in single parent homes where maybe two parents, they each work two jobs. They're kind of fending for themselves, well, a lot more than they used to. And so they're looking for that outlet, like Kevin said. And these communities, I know, I've seen them promote and come up with some programs. And it's not the city, it's not you folks, but it's a partnership between you and the community and the people, the citizens out there that have the expertise to help do this. Get programs in place and just see the kids turn around and keep them off their streets. Because if they don't have these programs that the cities offer them, they're going to find something to do, and it's going to be spray painting bathrooms, busting up toilets, burglarizing your cars, smoking, vaping, all that good stuff. They're going to find a way to keep busy. So I find it very beneficial from a public safety standpoint that it keeps them out of my office. So.
Thanks. Any other comments from department heads this evening? Okay, John, do you have any comments before I make my comment?
It's just one thing, and it was alluded to by Christina. So on the 22nd of this month, which is our council meeting this month, we will be talking about the playground and some potential additional costs to make it an all abilities playground at Wadman Park, and provide some features there with the hard surface that we have to install anyways. But that'll be coming on the 22nd for you to review and approve.
John, do you have any questions on my position on making the parks accessible to everyone?
No, I
just wanted to make sure.
Are you in favor of that?
And the vendor in the playground that Councilman Barker and I looked at with Christina and Sarah to kind of say, hey, we want to do this one. The vendor is actually they have a grant program, and they've agreed to extend it to the 23rd of this month to see what the council's thoughts are, but it would save us, I think, 40 grand.
Yeah, I think our parks need to be accessible to all. So
yeah.
I think I made that clear the other day, didn't I? Okay, let me just wrap up our meeting with a couple of comments. For years, there's been a debate about the role of government. What is government's role in our community? I think we've got information that will help us define what that is. I think we've had some good input this evening. You know, historically, and we heard a lot of comments, and Councilmember Swanson brought this up about mental health. You know, for years and years, that's been swept, frankly, under the rug. And we have probably failed to recognize the problem in our community here. this North Ogden is not exempt from those issues. And so I think as the council debates things, surely that's an issue that should be on the agenda on how do we help in that particular area, because it is a big problem in our state, in our community, and in our nation. And so maybe what's been not important historically is now important as it ties into mental health. And I think that needs to be looked at. I just want to reiterate in case the council has forgot. As we've budgeted in this city, we no longer can just budget, so to speak, from paycheck to paycheck, even though there are many that are in that situation today. We need to plan for the future. And as we budgeted, we have budgeted to provide for that. And correct me if I'm wrong, any council members or John, but of that excess funding that takes place in our city, 10% of that is set aside to maintain what we currently have. Because we need a maintenance program in our parks, recreation, everything we do, senior citizen center, the aquatic center. Those have to be maintained. And I'm one that says if you're going to do something, do it right the first time. That's why I'm so big on the trails head up here on 2750. I think that's one of the most visited places in our city. And frankly, I'm not really happy on what that represents as North Ogden. So that is high on my agenda. But I'd also say that of the excess that's generated in the city, 20% of that is set aside for future parks. And I don't think it's any secret, council, you can reprimand you if you want, but I'm a real proponent as we negotiate and talk to these developers, getting their participation. And they've been very receptive. It's a win-win situation, I think, for them and for the city. We do have to figure some way to minimize what's going on in our parks with the damage that's taking place. Because that eats into the funds we have for growth in the city. And so whether it's a neighborhood watch situation where we elevate that again, I don't know, but we can't continue to have the type of damage we're having in our parks with the restrooms being vandalized and things of that nature. So here's the big one, and I think I surprised Council Member Swanson with this one time because he says I still have the first dime I earned. I think he says I'm a tightwad is the number he uses, but look, parks to catch up with what we have and what we're facing can only be resolved in one way, in my opinion. That's up to the citizens. Councilmember Barker talked about, the citizens are speaking when things fill up so quickly in recreation or when we have support from the senior citizens and that building's used all the time. That's a general obligation bond. That's the only way the city will catch up. Now that is put on the ballot for a vote by the citizens. Because frankly, you have to have a way to pay that back. And that comes with taxes, which none of us really like, right? But it's a reality. I'm just a realistic optimist, I guess. But that is really the elephant in this room. And I'm not one to incur a lot of debt, but frankly, I'm one that says, how do you solve problems? And some people say you should never incur debt, you should pay cash for everything. Think about that. How are you ever going to save enough money to beat inflation to keep up with things? You can't. So that's something I think the council is going to have to debate. But that's up to the citizens in that regard, on what they want to do. That's where they have a voice, because that is placed on the ballot. So we are in our planning, I think looking to the future, we're setting aside funds I think Mr. Burns brought up the fact that we need green space in the city too, not just facilities, but we need to have some open space in the city to keep its beauty. And that's another difficult situation to deal with because everyone wants their land to be sold at the highest price, right? And developed. But somehow we have to look at that too, to keep our city beautiful. So our commitment is that we will listen to your comments as we sit down and budget. It's not too different than your budget, right? We have expenses, and all expenditures have to be paid out of revenue. And we have limits there, so I've got a lot of confidence in the council that they will consider what's been said tonight, that they'll make the proper investments to make sure that our city is a great place to live. And work to be done, council. Anything else this evening?
Just one comment. It's
Oh,
for-
did you have a comment, Mr. Call?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Chief is gonna assist, but it is kind of dark in our area, and we've got some construction, so we're gonna have some lights and other things available so that everyone can get out to their car safely, so we just, we've got some uneven sidewalk out there, so we just want to make sure people are aware that, you know, we're here to help.
Yeah, if you haven't noticed, there is a bit of construction going on, so. With that then, Susan?
Just a reminder, we're canceling next week's meeting for the election. And so our next meeting, as been said, will be November 22nd.
Okay. All right. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a second to that motion?
Yep, second.
All right.